It looked like a normal Friday. Mr. Okamoto was preparing for a trip to Sendai airport, where he was due to pick up his wife, who was flying in from Tokyo, 300 kilometers away where she was working. The couple lived on the western edge of Sendai, in a quiet residential area surrounded by forested hills. The journey to the airport usually takes an hour, and as the plane was due to land shortly after 3:30 p.m., Mr. Okamoto set off after 2 p.m. As he drove through the town of Natori and past local farms, the road began to shake. The clock in the car read 2:46 p.m. and Mr. Okamoto realized that another earthquake, which hits Japan several times a year, had arrived and quickly stopped the car, precisely as he had learned to do. But he soon realized that this earthquake was different. The tremors intensified until the road jerked violently from side to side and cracked. It took an incredibly long time for the biggest tremors to stop. "Tsunami! Tsunami is coming soon," Mr. Okamoto said out loud. He quickly turned on the car radio and his intuition did not fail him. A monothematic warning of a major tsunami approaching Japan's shores poured into the airwaves. To his horror, he heard the information that the epicenter of the earthquake was directly opposite of the Sendai area, some 80 kilometers from the shore, and that the inhabitants must evacuate immediately. Initial estimates spoke of an earthquake magnitude of 8.9 on the Richter scale. Suddenly my legs went numb and I felt like I was in a bad dream. I couldn't move, my brain wasn't working, and honking cars passed me, gradually forming columns facing away from the sea. I told myself it was over, I was going to die here. But then something came loose and I just told myself I wanted to survive. The numbness subsided and I got into the car to get back to the town of Natori, which was only a few kilometers away. But there were a lot of cars everywhere and we drove slowly. I could feel the earth shaking again. And once again, the feelings of helplessness and despair fell upon me. But then suddenly everything went quiet. The motorcade stopped and a man got out of the car in front of me. I could see the horrified look on his face and how he was pointing his hand somewhere in the distance behind my car. I looked in the rear view mirror and what I saw was absolutely shocking. I instinctively got out of the car and saw a huge mass of debris hurtling towards the ocean about 2 kilometers away. There were remnants of buildings, cars, planes and other things. I saw no water, just a wall of debris from north to south, rolling towards us with a thundering sound, swallowing everything in its path. He sat instinctively in the car and waited for nothing. I pulled into the oncoming lane, which was empty, and drove away from the terrifying spectacle. I saw people running across the fields trying to escape this horrific destruction. I don't even know how, but I managed to reach the town of Natori, to the evacuation platform. I stopped about 400 meters from it because I couldn't go any further. I jumped out of the car and ran. The wreckage was only a few dozen meters away. The terrifying screeching and cracking sound of the tsunami at my heels will stay in my head for the rest of my life. At the last moment, I ran to the evacuation platform and just watched as the tsunami engulfed everything around me. It seemed like the end of the world. Nothing will be the same here, I realized. While Mr. Okamoto saved his life at the last moment, eastern Japan was being engulfed by a gigantic tsunami, which hit the Sendai area the hardest of all areas. Why the force of the tsunami was so enormous here, and why it engulfed areas up to 10 miles inland, we will explain in this new video. Welcome to the Top Topics channel. Make sure to subscribe and like the video and hit that notification bell so you won't miss out other videos in the future. Ready? Let's get to it. Stories like Mr. Okamoto's, which he sent us for processing after consultation, happened countless times that day in Sendai alone. And no wonder, looking at the map, Sendai was indeed subjected to unprecedented tsunami force. The epicenter was about 65 kilometers from the peninsula below the city of Onagawa, which was completely destroyed, as you could see in the previous videos. In another video, we showed you how the seemingly well-hidden town of Ishinomaki was destroyed, thanks to the destructive diffraction of the waves. In the last video, we showed the effects of the tsunami on the Shiogama Dagecho area, which was in a sort of shadow, and the tsunami was not as devastating there. The city of Sendai, on the other hand, was exposed to the direct impact of the waves. With its million inhabitants, it was the largest city to be hit by the disaster. Unlike the northern areas, Sendai is situated on a large coastal plain, and the coastline is flat and sandy. This coastal geomorphology was predestined because the tsunami would easily spread many kilometers inland. The bathymetry of the coastline is determined by the gradually sloping seabed, and the sea here is thus shallow for tens kilometers offshore. This is another major difference from northern areas where the bottom slopes rapidly and there is already great depth near the shore. The shallow sea means a major slowing down of the tsunami's speed, but on the other hand, also it uplifts into continuous walls of water. The wave approached Sendai in several stepped walls. This means that after each successive wave has passed, the ocean has remained uplifted a little higher. This resulted in a crashing blow to the coast. The wave has swept away Sendai Airport, where Mr. Okamoto was heading, at around 3:55 PM. The footage shows that the force of the water was enormous, taking planes, destroying buildings, and advancing easily inland. Its progress is notorious in the helicopter footage, which shows the sledge cars escaping the destruction and the water pushing buildings in front of them. Flooding fields, greenhouses taking cars and trucks and gradually turning into smoldering wall of debris, just as Mr. Okamoto described. The reason the water had such incredible power was that more and more waves were pushing against it, coming in series after series. Mr. Okamoto had about 20 minutes to save himself, because in that time the wave had swallowed up the town of Natori, which was completely uprooted. The water gradually flooded this entire coastal plain, causing incredible damage to property, health, and lives. The big problem was the water, due to the flat nature of the landscape, returned to the ocean very slowly and formed lagoons of dirty, toxic and smelly water in many places and took many months to drain. When we look at the current appearance of the coastline, the damage is still evident, with many fields still uncultivated due to the contamination from industrial floods. The force of water is also clearly visible in the coastline forests. Mr. Okamoto was eventually happily reunited with his wife after another week. Fortunately, their home was out of the reach of the devastating waves, and they had somewhere to return to. But many people were not so lucky. And then, Okamoto joined the volunteers and spent several weeks helping with the tsunami relief effort. His powerful story is a clear message about the destructiveness of nature, and that is not to be underestimated. Folks, we are at the end of the video. If you liked it, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you won't miss out on the videos in the future. Also, you can also contribute to the development of the channel by making a one-time donation of any amount. Just click on the heart below the video. Thanks a lot, have a great time, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next video.